No money, no power, no hope. These aren't just words, are they? For so many of us, they can feel like the walls of a room that's getting smaller every day. Welcome. In this explainer, we're going to look at a rather surprising blueprint from 1925, a way to break this very feeling of being trapped.
So let me ask you, and be honest with yourself for a moment. Do you feel trapped? Really? Caught in that loop where you have no good options, not enough resources, and no real influence over your own life? It's a deep, deep sense of exhaustion. And I need you to hear this. That feeling is real, it's valid, and it is not a personal failure.
You know, this state of being, this fog of feeling stuck, it actually has a name. In strategic thinking, we call it a cognitive deadlock. And just understanding what it is, well, that's the first step to finally breaking free. So what is a cognitive deadlock? It's a state of mental paralysis. The challenges that you're facing, maybe in your career, in a project, or just in life, they can seem so big, so overwhelming, that any path forward just feels impossible. But the most important thing to grasp here is that this is not about a weakness in you. It's a systemic problem. It's a kind of fog that descends when the odds just feel impossibly stacked against you.
Okay, so how do we break it? How do we find our way out of this fog? The key, and this might surprise you, doesn't come from some modern self-help book. It comes from a strategic blueprint, written almost 100 years ago, back in 1925.
Just try to imagine it for a second. The year is 1925. You have no money to speak of, no powerful connections, zero formal power. And yet, your goal is to completely change the structure of society against truly overwhelming forces. I mean, if your own situation feels difficult, just consider that level of challenge. The sense of hopelessness must have been absolute.
And yet, in that moment of what must have felt like total uncertainty, the clarity didn't come from finding more money or some new weapon. It came from asking a single piercing question, a question that just cut right through all the noise, all the chaos.
And this is the question. Who are our enemies? Who are our friends? This is the primary question. Now, at first glance, it sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But this one question fundamentally reframes the entire problem, and in doing so, it reveals the path forward.
See, by asking this question, you're able to identify what strategists call the principal contradiction, the single most important obstacle that's actually standing in your way.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The central mistake that we all make when we're in that deadlock is we focus inward, on our own limitations. We think, I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough influence. But this question, it forces you to look outward. The real task isn't to count what you lack. It's to understand the people around you. Because true power, you see, doesn't come from what you have. It comes from who you can unite.
So, how do you understand the people? Well, the 1925 analysis used a brilliantly simple framework. For any group in your environment, you just look at three things. First, their numbers. How many of them are there? Second, their economic position. What are their real core interests? What drives them? What do they need? And third, their fundamental attitude toward your goal. Are they with you, against you, or maybe just on the fence?
And when you apply this simple framework, something amazing happens. A chaotic, overwhelming situation transforms into a clear map. You can actually begin to chart your own battlefield.
Back in 1925, this is what that map looked like. Up at the top, a pretty small group, maybe 1 million staunch enemies who benefited from things staying exactly as they were. Below them, a wavering middle class of about 4 million people whose feelings were, well, contradictory. But then look at the other numbers. A massive pool of 150 million potential allies, people who were struggling and open to a new way, and an even larger base, 200 million firm allies who were deeply oppressed and desperately needed change.
The moment you lay out the landscape this way, the true balance of power, which was completely hidden by that fog of cognitive deadlock, suddenly becomes shockingly clear. And this visual just says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you have your committed opponents. Let's even throw in the entire wavering class. You're facing about 5 million people. But on the other side, your potential and firm allies number a staggering 350 million. The feeling of being powerless, it was an illusion. It was a cognitive error. The power was there the whole time. It just hadn't been identified and united yet. This historical analysis is powerful, but let's bring it home. What does this mean for you, today, in your life? This is the most important step. This is where we move from just knowing something to actually doing something with it.
So here it is.
A simple, 4-step algorithm you can use to break your own deadlock. 1. Identify the principal question. In your career, in your project, whatever it is, ask, who are my real opponents and who are my potential allies? 2. Analyze their core interests. What do they truly want? What are they afraid of? 3. Uncover your allies. Find the largest group whose fundamental needs actually align with your success. And 4, and this is the most important step of all, champion their cause. Your personal power grows exponentially the moment you stop fighting just for yourself and you start representing the genuine interests of your allies.
And this brings us to the ultimate lesson here. The true source of power that's revealed by this nearly 100-year-old blueprint. It's a fundamental shift in how we even think about what strength is.
The crucial point is this. Power isn't a static object that you possess, like money in a bank account. It's a dynamic force that you build. And you build it by finding others whose success is tied to your own, and then genuinely fighting for your collective interests. Your strength becomes a reflection of the people you serve.
Without one single realization, the fog of cognitive deadlock finally lifts, because you stop obsessing over your own limitations and you start seeing the vast landscape of allies that was there the whole time, just waiting to be seen, waiting to be united.
The chaos has been turned into a map. You can see the forces at play. You can see where your true strength really lies. So the only question that remains is, what is your first move?